Good afternoon and welcome to the Market Recap, traders. Monday, May the 17th. I'm John Hogle and thanks for trusting me with your time. I hope that you had an interesting and profitable trading day. See a couple of good signs here in the live chat. As always, we're just going to kind of glance over what happened in the markets. We'll take a look at them in the charts and we'll see what happened on this day in history and maybe a little bit of what happened in this day in music in history. Crude oil opens in range but finds bids right off the opening range. Don't forget, tomorrow we will be probably trading the July contract. You'll be fine in June or July. Really expecting the volume tonight to kind of usurp the volume in December in July. So I'm going to be looking at the July numbers. Prices are basically in parity. We don't even have to change any of our levels to make that change for you crude oil traders. E-mini S&P stays inside value area after kind of reconciling the overnight inventory. Not a big mover today in any of the equities. Some pretty range-bound activity, as a matter of fact. Nasdaq auctions lower, finds an area, and then, then begins to create an area of balance. Excuse me, one second. Forgive me. Gold finds buyers above last week's high. We talked about it on the market forecast. Looks like we had a winner in our live chat on that very trade today. Always good to see. E-mini S, or excuse me, the euro narrow range, off the radar for a reason today, both in the euro and the 10-year. Although in the euro, there were some hints of potential buying. It's going to be interesting to see what the open interest does tomorrow. If we get a decent boost in open interest, I'd say there's probably some longer-term buying in the euro today. And the 10-year, really just off the radar for a reason. No real opportunity in that 10-year today. So I was glad that I kind of mentioned that I wasn't seeing much and not much happened. I always have to say good afternoon to everybody. Brian, Richie B, Vince Capria, good morning. Caught a $13 gold rally, a gold fish off that rally today. Vince, I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. There's going to be an interesting and fun conversation. Hey, Tanya, good to see you. Jim, nice day to start the week. Sure thing. Greg, good to see you. I've been 18 jumped out too soon, too quick. Oh, could have been. I see. Could have been. 18 jumped out too quick. Tried to fade after the rally, but the fish just died for the day. Boy, it sure did, didn't it? And once that rally kind of stopped, it just really stopped moving at all. There was no real pullback. Tanya, good to see you. Taking the Dalton Intensive this month. Thank you for turning me on to his work. Awesome. Let me know how it comes out. Let me know what you think. And I haven't had anybody that has had anything but great things to say about Mr. Dalton and his intensives. It's pretty intense, but that's why they call it intensive. Looking forward to hearing about it from you, Tanya. Danny Ireland, good morning, good afternoon. Has anyone received two stimulus checks? It's happening. I love Joe Biden. Give me 3, Utah. I don't know. I know I got one and didn't really need it, but it was great for those that needed it for sure. But I don't know if I got 2 or I don't know. I'd have to check. Gotta check. I'd have to ask the boss. France, good afternoon, morning. Well, depends on where you are, I guess. France. Jorg, good afternoon. And Joe West, hi. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. All right, let's go ahead and see what we're seeing in these charts. I'm just going to go with the 30-minute charts, just kind of talk about what we were thinking this morning, what happened throughout the day, and we'll take a look at what happened in the world and to the charts. So here's the crude oil, basically opening with some slight overnight inventory to the short side. We left the opening range at the dead low, pretty sizable opening range, indicating some potential to the upside, which it certainly did come in. Whenever we leave the opening range at one extreme or the other, and you can see right here, that first minute of trade really just did not get traded below our overnight low, our value low from Friday. All of that supportive, and hopefully, when you noticed that the opening range was the low of the session, I'm hoping at the very least that you were not going to fight an upside move. We're heading up towards last week's high, which is right up here just above 66.60. And then, of course, points higher would take us up to weekly kickoff high. I believe that is 67.30. Sometimes I get a little dyslexic late in the day. And just getting back from vacation, I think I needed a vacation from my vacation. Although I did have a really good trading day, and again, hoping that you did as well. So we've got a pretty good upward move here. The volume is not going to show very well because this is the expiring month. Tomorrow we'll be looking at July again. That's CLN. N is the letter for July, so make sure you get set up for that tomorrow. Not going to be a huge deal, but you're certainly going to want to be trading July by Wednesday for sure. I'm going to be switching my charts again to July after the recap here and be trading July if I choose to trade crude oil tomorrow. And S&Ps. We were kind of looking at the S&Ps this morning as, we had a pretty good spook of inflation last week. A couple of things kind of spooking the market, but really overall the market remains in a positive market state. We opened in range and in value, which basically tells us, or tells me typically, I'm going to find better trade location as the day goes on. So here's last Friday's upside move, which lost open interest. Perhaps we got a little bit too short in the hole on the lows from the previous sessions. Opening in range and value says, okay, we're probably going to find better trade location as the day goes on. The market opens, takes a pretty good stab back towards, guess where? Settlement, inventory adjustment. Inventory too short overnight. They bailed out. They met sellers. Another good opportunity down here off this low, basically the low of the range from last Friday, and the market really doing a pretty decent job of resolving back to the upside again. Volume probably not all that impressive today in the smaller range, but we'll be watching to see if there's any information in how good the auction process did today by adding any open interest or any open interest losses tomorrow morning. Nasdaq was a nice pullback and a nice recovery here. Overnight, inventory was short. Small attempt at adjusting inventory back to flat. I don't think we quite did that. We drew in some sellers, but again, opening range, not the best trade location of the day. This spike up here towards settlement, unable to get there. Sometimes what doesn't happen is as important as what does. And so the market kind of rotates lower, takes a look below. Last Friday's low trades to basically value high from Thursday of last week. Sellers bail out and return back higher. We're seeing a very even bell curve here. If we've got a big open interest change today in our equities with this big even bell curve, there's some potential for bigger moves away from this area as this market has kind of used up its ability to facilitate trade here. When we see these very even bell curves, that usually can be an indication of some sort of change. We expelled a lot of energy last week. Today maybe was our rest day. We're going to see some more fireworks in one direction or the other as the week goes on. Gold was the shining star for me this morning on the forecast and in trading. We're noticing that in the longer time frame, we were up. We were holding upside structure. In the short time frame, we had some overnight longs in this market, but we were able to open the market above last week's high. And to me, that's a signal that says, okay, there's more coming. If we can't close this gap, if we can't bring price back down to settlement, We had one feeble little attempt to do just that once this market resolved back above last week's high. It was off to the races. It was a really good opportunity. And there were a couple of chances, maybe three really, to look for opportunities to get into this long. If you got in a little too early, maybe you got stopped out on this. But when we got back above this level, if we were unable to get back below last week's high, there's one opportunity here, another opportunity here, and another opportunity. Once we had accepted back above the opening range, which roughly was 1851.30, let me just make sure I'm right. Yep, 1851.30. Once we got back above that opening range, we knew buyers were likely going to take control, and we had this decent move to the upside. And Vince, I'm very happy that you were able to see that and to catch that. Hopefully many others of you were able to catch that. So kind of talked about this morning as gold being the seriously on the radar and turning into the shining star for the session today. Euro, yee, woo, ah. Opening in range and value, no real overnight inventory, no real push to do anything. We did see a kind of a lower left to upper right momentum kind of begin throughout the session today. Our opening range not necessarily the best trade location. It wasn't far after the opening range that we did get our best trade location, which was right down here. And the market kind of continues to rotate just slightly higher all day long, but in a very narrow range. No real momentum to this. Again, tomorrow morning's open interest may be a little bit telling as to whether this was just a good yawning day or if there was something kind of below the surface in the case of maybe some longer term adjustments in inventory. And the 10-year, wow, I'm so glad I took this off my radar. I can't even tell you. Finally, we're getting a little movement, but, we opened below a settlement. We came back and rechecked settlement. We looked lower. We came back, rechecked settlement again. Now, finally, as the market kind of closes up and we're all going to be out of our positions, the market starts to look to the downside. I'm wondering if there's some sort of change here in the 10-year yield that might be providing that. And there's a little bit of an uptick. I believe this morning the 10-year yield was showing 1.64%. Right now it's 1.653%. So 1/100th of a percentage point higher, and we see the 10-year taking a little bit of a look to the downside. So not a lot of big opportunity. Another market that I'm glad I mentioned was going to more than likely be off my radar. Tomorrow morning is another day. We've got 1 down, 4 down this week. Don't forget, we do have some information coming out in the form of housing starts and permits. 7:30 tomorrow morning. We've got a couple of talking Feds throughout the day, and the bigger number of the FOMC minutes at 1 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, which happens to be group coaching time. I'm going to put the link in. Please feel free to join, email in your questions, ask questions on the fly. Always one of my favorite parts of the week, that group coaching session. So with all that about the news, so in this date in history, in 1954 on May 17th, a major civil rights victory. The U.S. court hands down a unanimous decision on Board versus the Board of Education of Topeka, which rules that racial segregation in public educational facilities is unconstitutional. Seems a shame it took that long. As far as other information, in 2004, this seems like it was like yesterday. It's 18 years ago, approximately, but the first legal same-sex marriage was performed in Massachusetts on this day in 2004. This one kind of cracks me up. In 1964, the FBI laboratory weighs in on the dirty lyrics of the song Louie Louie. They came out with their conclusion on May 17th, 1965, when the FBI decided that the lyrics of Louie Louie were officially unintelligible. Unintelligible. What a great, what a wonderful way to use the government's resources. All they had to do was ask any of us. If you know that song, you know that there's no way to know what the heck they were talking about, although I bet we could, most of us, sing it. 1973, May 17th, the televised Watergate hearings begin. And in 2000, very sadly, the final episode of Beverly Hills 90210 airs. I know we were all heartbroken when that happened. And in this day in history, one of my favorite songs, 1967, Glenn Campbell recorded Gentle on My Mind. And the version that you hear was meant to be a practice. He was just running through the song. They didn't even tell him that they were recording it. He feels as though he's a little off key, but it just seems to make the song, gives it that love that it has. I mean, from me and from a lot of other people. 1963, the Monterey Pop Festival was today. Bob Dylan's all over that. 1942, Taj Mahal, multi-instrumentalist, was born. Bill Bruford, if you know Bill Bruford, the original drummer for the rock group Yes, then joined King Crimson, and he was a working drummer, tour drummer for Genesis in 1976 and 78. George Jones. No, that's George Johnson, a American R&B band. Brothers Johnson was born. There's always something about Led Zeppelin here. I love that. Led Zeppelin played the first of 5 sold-out nights to 17,000 fans at Earl's Court Arena in London, England. Tickets were $1.70, and for the good tickets, $4.25. They were making the big bucks back then. Hard to believe that that's all it cost in 1975. I actually have an unused Led Zeppelin ticket for a concert that was canceled at the stadium here in Chicago. It was when Robert Plant's son had passed away, so they ended the tour. I have an unused ticket, and even on that, 1977, it was $10 to go see Led Zeppelin. Imagine what that would cost now. And that's about all I see on that regard. Deg, good to see you. Norman, good to see you. Greg, yes. 13 points in gold, I'm pretty sure, Norman, that Vince was talking about. $13. Yeah, but minimum wage was like 50 cents an hour. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure if I was old enough to go see that Led Zeppelin show, I would have been probably happy to pay $10. Minimum wage was $50, 50 cents an hour. Hey, Sean, good to see you. All right. So tomorrow morning, again, don't forget, we are looking for housing starts and permits 7:30 before the regular trading hour open. Keep your eyes and ears peeled. Norman, good to, yep, you bet. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp, ready and raring to go. Looking forward to having another good trading day. Vince, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get you another nice opportunity in gold. Always fun to start the week with one of those. No guarantees, but we'll be looking for it. Get out there, get some rest, be good to each other, say a prayer for world peace for us tonight, and we'll see you in the morning. A house in my neighborhood in 1950 was $15,000. Yep, there it is. Norman was a $13 move. Yep. All right. Be good to each other. Get some rest. Wash your hands, and I'll see you in the morning. Till then, if you're trading tonight, make sure you keep your powder dry. Could be another fun day in some of these markets tomorrow. Have a good night.